Hello, I'm Dr. Cécile Cosculuela. Welcome to this ESL video on English grammar. We are working on the passive voice, and this is our third video. We're going to apply the theoretical perspectives that have been presented in video number 1. So a quick reminder here, the active voice is composed of a subject and then the verb in the active voice and the object that becomes the subject of the passive voice, and then the verb is in the passive voice as well, so using the formula B plus VEN on top of the operators that were used in the active voice sentence for the verb, and then the agent is introduced by and obviously corresponds to the subject here. So traditionally, it is said that the passive voice is basically the reverse diagram if we compare it to the active voice. And we'll talk about that later on. Right now, we are just going to practice the creation of passive sentences. We also highlighted that the medium or middle voice is in between the active and passive voices because the subject of the middle voice is the same as the subject in the passive voice, and then the verb in the middle voice is the same as the verb in the active voice. And then certain conditions have to be respected, like here, in order for the sentence to be correct. So some practice now. Remember to be very active. So translate the sentences from French into English and answer the questions before I do if you really want to progress. Est-ce que l'envoyé spécial a interviewé le président? So in English, did the special reporter interview the president? And this is obviously the active voice. What's the formula for the verb here in this sentence? So let's go back to the English verb equation and ask ourselves the questions. In this sentence, do we have the present tense or the past tense? Well, obviously, this is the past tense. So let's highlight the symbol for the past tense, VED. And then do we have, question number 2, do we have a modal in this sentence or not? Well, obviously, there's no modal. Do we have have plus VEN, the perfect, or do we not have the perfect? Again, here, no perfect, so 0 is the symbol that we will keep. And is there B plus VING or not? So this 0 here stands for the simple form, and we have indeed here the simple form. And then again, obviously, this is the active voice here. That's what this 0 stands for, the active voice, as opposed to the passive voice. And then we can see that the past tense here is on do plus V0, so that the verb formula in this sentence is VED plus do plus V0. We could also mention all the zeros here, but it is also possible not to mention them. So the verb formula is VED plus do plus V0 for the active sentence, and we want to turn that sentence into a passive voice sentence. So we need to add B plus VEN. And obviously the orange operators, as you remember, are not compatible with the green one. Once you go up, you cannot go down again. And therefore, we're not going to be able to use do plus V0. So the formula for the passive voice sentence will be VED plus B plus VEN. And then we know how to associate the operators. So we want the past tense of be, which is was, and then the subject, because this is an interrogative sentence, was the president. And then we want the past participle of the verb. So was the president interviewed? And then we can add the agent with the preposition by the special reporter. So this is the passive voice. Was the president interviewed by the special reporter? Next example, Nora avait réparé la voiture. So again, what voice is this? Which voice is this? This is obviously the active voice, a translation in English. Nora had repaired the car, and then we want to turn that sentence into a passive voice sentence. So what's the verb formula here? Let's go back to the verb equation. Do we have the present tense or the past tense here? Well, had obviously is in the past tense. There is no modal, and we do have plus VN, the formula for the perfect, as we can see here in the sentence. Therefore, we need to highlight this operator because it's part of the verb formula. And then do we have be plus VING? No, we don't. We have the simple form, the symbol of which is 0. And then we have the active voice, right? Not the passive voice that we will add in a minute. And obviously, since we have an orange operator, it is impossible to have the green operators. So the formula for this sentence is VED plus half plus VN. And since we want to turn that sentence into a passive voice sentence, we need to add the formula for the passive voice, which is B plus VN. And then we know how to associate the operators. So we want the past tense for have, which is had. So yeah, the subject, the subject of the passive voice is, as you remember, the object of the active voice. So the car had, and then we want the past participle of be, which is the car had been, and the past participle of the verb repair or fix, which is repaired or fixed. And we can also add the agent and introduce it with the preposition by. The car had been repaired by Nora is the passive voice. Let's go on to the next one. Regarde, Ken tape la lettre. So don't forget to pause the video if I'm going too fast. The English for this sentence is look, Ken is typing the letter. That's obviously the active voice. What's the verb formula? Let's go back to the English verb equation. Ken is typing the letter. Is this the present tense or the past tense? Well, obviously is in the present tense. Is there a modal? No, there isn't. Is there have plus VN the perfect? No, there isn't. Is there be plus VING or the simple form? Well, obviously we have be plus VING here. And then this is the active voice here. And since we do have an orange operator, then it's impossible to have the green one. Therefore, the formula for this sentence is VS plus B plus VING. And then we want to, So that's the formula for the active voice, as we can see here, the active voice. And then we want to turn this sentence into a passive voice sentence. So we need to add the operator for the passive form. And therefore, the formula for the passive voice sentence is VS plus B plus VING plus B plus VEN. And then let's write the subject, which, as you remember, is the object of the active voice. That's the subject for the passive voice. And then we want the present of be, which is, and the present participle of be, which is being, and then the past participle of the verb type, which is typed. The letter is being typed, and again, we can add the agent by can, and that's the passive voice. Let's go over one last example. Le gouvernement subventionnera ce théâtre. So in English, the government will subsidize the theater, sorry. The government will subsidize the theater, the theater. And the verb formula here is, yes, let's go faster. Obviously, will is in the present tense, but that's a big one actually, because usually many people believe that will is the future, and as you can see, it is not. It is the present tense of the modal, the past tense being would. So this is the modal will in the present tense, no perfect, active voice, no, sorry, simple form here, and active voice. And since there's an orange operator, there it's not possible to have the green operator. So the formula here is VS plus modal plus V0, and we want to turn this active sentence into a passive one. So we add the formula for the passive voice. And then the formula we want to use to find the right verb form is VS plus modal plus V0 plus B plus VEN. And then we know how to combine the operators and come up with the right sentence. The theater will be subsidized by the government. Okay, so the English verb equation here is really useful for you to make sure that you get it right and that you know how to create a passive voice sentence. And you can find all the examples in the verb matrix. So as you remember, the examples are mentioned here without a modal in the passive voice, and on the last line, the bottom line here, all the examples are with a modal in the passive voice. So this is how to form the passive voice, and next time we'll ask ourselves the question, what is the invariant of the passive voice, meaning what is it used for? What does it mean when we use the passive voice? What do we use it for? Well, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your attention. Keep on working, and in the meantime, I wish you all the best.